What's going on, guys? This is Miasin. So when we got the ban list back in May, I thought I could make a top 10 best decks of the format that would be almost ideal, and I really thought that I was able to narrow it down to what people would actually play, but it turns out I was completely wrong. So today I will be making a revisited top 10 best decks with the knowledge that I now have of what is actually being played, what trends people are really adapting to, but of course you already know it. Before this video starts, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and now let's jump right into it. So in the number 10 position, I have Cyrus decks that could kind of be anything that really plays Cyrus monsters, so Kotalker, Adignister, Salamangrate, and Marincess. Marincess is actually kind of a newer deck because it got support in the Legendary Duelist, Duelist of the Abyss, whatever. So a new spell card that is actually really broken. If you have the field spell as well as, you know, a Link 4 monster, a Link 3 monster, the deck just got way better. And that is something that you really do have to keep into consideration, because if you're not really prepared for a deck like Marincess that you didn't really got to test that much before, you will actually lose to it. And Salamangrate is still really consistent. People are now back to playing Salamangrate because the circle is back to 3. If people are main decking Joel and Logbird, you won't really be happy because you can use the Salamangrate circle on the draw phase in order to play around Joel that way. Number 9 position will have to go to a deck that could actually be higher in the list. It's just that I don't really know that much, so I don't know if it's really that good, but EIDLICH Punk, so definitely very consistent, but the ceiling level going second might not be the best. Maybe you get to play less handshafts, and maybe sometimes the EIDLICH cards might be a little useless, or maybe you draw way too many of them and you can't really do too much, so I don't know, maybe EIDLICH Traps is better? You tell me. Number 8 might again be a tie between ABC Brave Theron and Earth Machine. So Earth Machine is definitely very good, very consistent, very powerful, but very difficult to play as well. So if you suck at the game, I don't really recommend that deck. ABC Brave Theron is also very powerful, but unfortunately it does lack in the consistency department, because if you can't really make Buster, your follow-up might be worse. And unfortunately, I want to say 20% of your hands, maybe 30%, especially if you consider the fact that you can get a hand shaft, might not end on Buster, and because of that, I think unfortunately the deck is no better than 7th or 8th or whatever. Next up, we have a very cookie cutter deck that is basically just brain dead at this point, and it's Flundereeze. So if you draw Robina, you don't really have to use your brain for anything, because you go normal Robina, normal Eaglin, tribute summon for Impin, get your bear statue that you get to summon on your opponent's turn, and the Ryza as well. And because of that, you don't really have to ever think about what your opponent is trying to do, because if your opponent can't special summon monsters outside of wind monsters, which is, you know, kind of impossible because most decks are not playing wind monsters, well, good luck playing. And of course, the deck can be very sacky with Dimension Shifter, the deck main decks Dark Ruler, Mystic Mine, and all those super fun cards, so yeah, absolute cancer. In my number 6 position, I have a deck that I didn't include in my previous top 10 best decks, and I regret it because the only reason why it wasn't there was because I thought that people would be playing Alba Renatis and Despia, and I think you already guessed it, it's Dragon Link. Dragon Link is super powerful, super consistent, super resilient, and honestly, again, like I said, not a lot of people are really playing Alba Renatis, so you will not be getting Contact Fuse anytime soon. Number 5 is a deck that I want to say is mostly good because of the fact that it's underestimated and slept on, and that would be DRYTRON. If people side decked the correct cards to be DRYTRON, the deck would be less good, but at the same time, with so much variety in this format, you can't really afford to have a silver bullet very specific like Ally of Justice Cycle Reader, because you have to respect the other decks as well, and because of that, DRYTRON kind of goes under the radar and beats everyone else. Number 4 is a new meta trend, quote-unquote, that has been kind of popularized by very high-level players, and that would be Predaplan Despia. The deck obviously has a ridiculously high ceiling and consistency level. I want to say it's on the same consistency level as Despia. Arguably, it may be better, it depends on your deck building, but the power level is definitely much higher because you get to end on multiple Dragos Tapelias turn 1. You even get to end on Winda because you can search Instant Fusion with the Cobra, and that way, on the end phase, instead of the Winda dying, you get to protect it by banishing the Branded Opening. Again, everything is searchable, so the deck can do so much with like 2 cards. It's actually ridiculous, but unfortunately, it still loses to Evenly Matched because it cannot make Omni Negates. Number 3 deck is a deck that is extremely cookie cutter, and if you play it, you can't really stand out from, you know, everyone else because everybody's literally playing the exact same deck list, and that would be Sword Soul. So people don't really disagree with a lot of ratios. It's like, are you playing 2 or 3 Vishuddha? Are you playing 0 or 1 Shatana? Are you playing Heavenly Dragon Circle? Are you playing Vessel? But for the most part, people are literally playing every single, same lineup of Sword Soul monsters, hand traps, etc. So it's really hard to like win a YCS when like 1,000 other Sword Soul players exist. Number 2 would have to be Punk Brave Synchro with or without the Therion. So the Therion monsters actually do decrease the consistency of your deck, but the advantage that they have is that they increase the ceiling. So are you willing to trade consistency for ceiling? That's up to you to decide, but the Punk engine is definitely very good. Again, drawing the Xiamen with the Rite of Aramesia, not the best, so you kind of want to draw Emergency Teleport with the Rite of Aramesia. There are still workarounds because you can still make Shooting Riser Dragon or Needle Fiber and play from there. And the number 1 best deck, I think a lot of people might agree with me or might completely disagree with me and think that the deck is way worse, would actually be Sun Avalant with or without the Punk and Brave and potentially Therion monsters. Well, forget the potentially because it still plays Therion monsters, it's just that the engine is minimal, but you're still on 1 Regulus, maybe 2 to 3 Borea, and 1 Field Spell. The ceiling level is absurd. 1 single vanilla monster ends on, I think, like 6 interruptions or something ridiculous like that, and you even have countermeasures to like Dark Ruler and stuff like that. If you get a hand trapped, you can still keep playing because the deck just has a lot going for it with 1 single card, so imagine what you can do with a full hand of 5 cards. And the beauty about this deck is that the negates that you make either come from main deck monsters such as Griffin Rider and Regulus, or extra deck monsters that are link monsters. So in other words, if you get deburied, nothing happens because you don't really care about, not being able to summon your synchro monsters, even though you could actually be playing the Punk engine in the deck. Obviously, it still loses to Scythe, but at the same time, outside of like Flunderies and Eldritch, I can't really think of like a single deck that doesn't lose to Scythe, and that's the reason why that card is super cancerous, but that's another topic for another day. Anyways, that's pretty much it for my top 10 best decks of the format. I really hope you guys were able to enjoy, learn a thing or two. If you have anything to say about this list, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.